Well, the Eagles just did exactly what we've all been waiting for and made a flurry of moves at the NFL trade deadline, including a trade for a former superstar at cornerback and a move to add an exciting young star edge rusher that has experience with Vic Fangio and could help take the Birds' pass rush to the next level. And there's good reason to believe that both these moves are really good. So let's break these moves down, as well as discuss some game-changing news for the Eagles and Packers matchup, and talk about all the other latest news ahead of the NFL trade deadline starting right now. Well, the Eagles' bye week went about as well as they possibly could have hoped for, as following a stress-free Sunday, the Birds now sit in first place in the NFC following the Panthers' surprising win over the Green Bay Packers, who of course the Eagles will now see this week. So that's obviously huge and a reason to be excited moving forward. And now the Eagles, about halfway through the season, have a clear path to that number 1 seed and a first-round bye in the playoffs. But obviously, it's not going to be easy, as the Birds do have a tough schedule coming up. And of course, first on the list is the Green Bay Packers. And the Birds have actually opened as 2.5-point road underdogs, so that'll no doubt be an exciting game on Monday Night Football. But obviously, the big story over the weekend for the Birds was the news that a former Green Bay Packer would be joining the team, that being cornerback Jaire Alexander. As of course, as I'm sure you've all seen by now, on Saturday, Howie Roseman traded a 2026 6th-round pick to the Baltimore Ravens in exchange for Alexander and a 2027 7th-round pick. And very much like the Michael Carter trade just a few days prior, this is a very interesting move. Because obviously, everyone was hoping that the Eagles would make a move to acquire a bona fide cornerback number 2 to fix the Birds' problems on the outside. And look, I guess there's technically a chance that Alexander could do that, but I'm also not exactly willing to bet on it, because even though Jaire used to be one of the very best cornerbacks in the entire NFL, having multiple Pro Bowl and All-Pro selections in his time with the Packers, that was several years ago. And since then, Alexander has had 2 injury-riddled seasons in 2023 and 2024, and since joining the Ravens this year, he has appeared in just 2 games and has allowed 5 catches on 5 targets in 43 coverage snaps for 116 yards and a 118.8 passer rating allowed. So, definitely not great, and his film doesn't exactly look very good at all either. However, when he was healthy last year, his film wasn't all that bad. Now, it's not the same as when he was at his peak back a couple seasons ago, but he still clearly had the capability of being a quality starting cornerback. Plus, on top of that, Alexander is technically younger now than when Darius Slay played his first game in Philly, and he has experience playing under defensive backs coach Christian Parker, and the two have a great relationship to this day. So there's definitely some positives here, but the big question mark is obviously Alexander's health and the state of that injured knee. And again, right now, it doesn't exactly look great. So my guess is that Alexander is likely not the clear-cut answer at cornerback number 2, but he's got a ton of experience. There's a chance that he could be good if he is healthy, and for the cost of just a 6th-round pick, I'd say it's a very good, low-risk, potentially high-reward move for the Eagles. And who knows? Maybe they try and bring him back next year depending on how things go, but I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts on this move and how exactly you think Alexander fits in. I will say this, though, the trio of Kelee Ringo, Adoree Jackson, and Jacorian Bennett all have to feel pretty good after the 2 moves that the Eagles did make at cornerback, because I think when healthy, all 3 of those guys still do have a legit chance to start for this Eagles defense moving forward, particularly Kelee Ringo, who just had a great game against the Giants before the bye week. Moving on, though, with the NFL trade deadline just a day away, and even after the Jaire Alexander trade, it seemed as if the Birds were not done making moves, as, of course, the hot topic among Eagles fans has been whether or not they were going to trade for an edge rusher at the deadline, and now we finally have our answer. Now, of course, going into it, there were a lot of names listed as rumored targets for the Birds. I mean, like we talked about on Friday, a new rumor had emerged talking about Myles Garrett and saying that Howie Roseman and the Eagles were really trying to go after him and maybe would give up 3 first-round picks to get him. But whether that was true or not, it became clear over the weekend that a Myles Garrett trade was not going to happen, with Diana Rossini reporting that Myles Garrett won't be traded, while a high-ranking source told her, quote, "He's a Brown and will remain a Brown." And on top of that, the noise of a Trey Hendrickson trade died down as well, because even though the Bengals were apparently receiving calls from many teams, including the Eagles, about key players such as Hendrickson, Rossini reported that it doesn't seem like Cincy is very motivated to move them. And then there were also a couple other options, those being Dolphins edge rusher Jaelan Phillips and Jets edge rusher Jermaine Johnson, both of which Rossini reported that the Eagles had called about. Now, I do have to say, Dianna Rossini's credibility, at least for me, has taken a big hit this year just because she continues to push this narrative that A.J. Brown is miserable and that he could possibly be traded this year, which obviously we know that's not true. I mean, many people have shut that down, including Jay Glazer on TV on Sunday, saying, quote, "No, a couple teams have asked about him. That is a hard no for A.J. Brown," which again is absolutely no surprise. However, Glazer also did echo what Rossini said about the Eagles' interest in Jaelan Phillips, as he said, quote, "The Dolphins have a couple guys who could be available, like Bradley Chubb, Matthew Judon, and Jaelan Phillips. Jaelan Phillips is the most likely to be traded. A team like the Philadelphia Eagles, they have interest in him." And mind you, this came just after a Cameron Wolfe report saying, quote, "Philadelphia Eagles would like to trade for Dolphins edge Jaelan Phillips at the right price per sources. I'm told Vic Fangio thinks highly of Phillips from their year together in Miami 2023. He would help fill the Eagles' need for another pass rusher." So clearly, there was a lot of smoke surrounding the Jaelan Phillips to the Eagles' fire going into the trade deadline, and now, as of Monday morning, the move has officially happened. As reports came out from multiple sources, including Adam Schefter, who said, quote, "Sources, Miami is trading edge rusher Jaelan Phillips to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for a 2026 third-round pick." And just to start off, I gotta say, I think this is a great move. I mean, Phillips is a very talented player with high upside, and he's been productive in this league before, especially as a pass rusher, putting up seasons in the past of 8.5 sacks, 7 sacks, and 6.5 sacks. And this year, in his 5th season, Phillips already has 25 total tackles, 17 of which are solo, which is 6th among edge defenders, and 8 of which are assisted, which is 4th, and he also has 3 total sacks in the season, along with 32 pressures, which ranks 11th of 120 edge rushers. So, safe to say, he's been pretty productive this year too, and there's potential for him to be even better, not to mention the fact that, again, Phillips did play under Vic Fangio back in 2023, and the defensive coordinator apparently thinks very highly of him. So now he's got his guy, and he should fit right in with the Philly defense, and on a defensive line that is currently trending in the right direction, and of course has a lot of talent. And that edge rusher room that was once a big concern is now all of a sudden looking pretty good for Fangio's unit, as it now consists of Jaelan Phillips, Nolan Smith, Jelix Hunt, Josh Uche, and Brandon Graham, which that's a pretty good group, if you ask me. And let's also not forget that the last time the Eagles made a midseason trade with the Dolphins, it went pretty well, that being back in 2017 when they acquired running back Jay Ajayi, and they of course went on to win the Super Bowl, with Ajayi being a big part of it. So, there's definitely a lot of good to talk about when it comes to this trade. Now, that said, there are also some drawbacks. I mean, for starters, Phillips does have an injury history, as he missed pretty much all last season with a partially torn ACL, while the season prior, his year ended after he tore his Achilles. So, that's definitely a little concerning, the fact that he has multiple serious injuries over the past couple years. And also, Phillips is set to be a free agent after this season, so he might just be a half-season rental, and a third-round pick is also definitely a significant price to pay for that. However, again, the Eagles' Super Bowl window is wide open, and if this move helps them bring home another Lombardi in a few months or gives them a better chance to, then I don't see any reason to complain. So overall, I really do like the move, and I'm excited to see what Phillips can do in an Eagles uniform. Also, in other Eagles news, the Birds have placed both safety Marcus Epps and edge rusher Azeez Ojulari on IR, which makes the Phillips trade even more crucial. And losing the depth that both these players added definitely does really hurt. So, I don't know the full details on the injuries, but hopefully they're back out there at some point. And then on top of that, the Eagles' opponent this week in the Green Bay Packers took a massive hit yesterday, as their star tight end Tucker Kraft is feared to have suffered a torn ACL after going down in their game against the Panthers. And obviously, this is extremely sad news to see any player suffer a serious injury like that, especially a player of Kraft's caliber, as he is 3rd in receiving yards among tight ends and 2nd in touchdowns. So, he was having a great year, and to see him go down like that definitely hurts and is a major blow to the Packers offense. And, definitely praying for him for a speedy recovery. All that said, I want you guys to give me your thoughts on the Eagles' trade deadline moves down in the comments below. How much do you think both of these moves helps out the defense? Again, just give me your thoughts in the comments. And also, if you did enjoy this video, make sure you subscribe and you turn on notifications. That way you don't miss any other Eagles coverage coming throughout the rest of the season. And also, leave a like down below because it really does help me out a ton. Let's see if we can get to at least 500 likes on today's video. And hit the hype button because that helps me out a ton as well. And also, if you do want to watch another Eagles video, you can check this out right here. And now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.